My name is DJ Shadow. Happy to be here.
DJ Shadow, it's been 6 years since Introducing came out.
Yep.
What the hell happened?
What the hell happened? Well, you got about an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope you have.
Yep. So after Introducing, which in America started to heat up beginning of 97, then I toured behind it in America. And then, during all of that, I was beginning work on Uncle, the Uncle album, which I assume you know, yeah. And then in 1998, that came out. Toured behind that a little bit and did some touring with Quantum, which is the rap label I work with back home. And then in 1999, was doing some soundtrack work for a film called Dark Days, a documentary. More work with Quantum for the Quantum Spectrum album, and spent the rest of 1999 touring. And then at the end, in around November of 1999, I was very tired, but I couldn't rest because I had to move house.
Okay.
So I bought a house and moved into there and got engaged to my wife and took about 3 months off and started working on this album in August of 2000 and finished in December of 2001. So the album took 15 months.
Mm.
But, when you're gone for 6 years, people always kind of assume, oh, you must have had like a 2-year drug problem.
Yeah,
or
I just want to tell you.
Yeah. But no, I mean,
Lying in the gutter and stuff.
Yeah. Or he must have writer's block or... But no, I mean...
But that wasn't the problem at all.
No.
You did a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, I only took 2.5 months off between, 1991 to now, basically.
So you really need a big holiday right now because all these years, hard work and stuff.
Nah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
All I ever need is just, a day here and there. Or, like, as long as I get a full night's sleep every night, I'm cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
You just told me you had 7 days in a row just only interviews.
Yeah.
Isn't that a hell?
Well, I mean, it's like I tell people, I'd rather be here talking than at home wondering why nobody wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm glad to be here. It gets a little bit whatever. I don't want to start complaining. It's fine.
We got a great new album coming up, The Private Press. I love the title. I love the title. Could you explain it a bit? Because the title means when you want a record company to release an album, you got to pay for it or something?
Well, what it is it was kind of explained a little bit awkwardly in the bio, but it basically is a record collecting term for homemade records. And I'm not even talking about like independent label records. I'm talking about records that were literally sort of homemade, like the jackets are silk screened or hand drawn, and I just was very inspired by this kind of independent spirit from these records that I was finding in the process of making this record. So, but I also like the title because I don't think you have to be a record collector to have the title is kind of ambiguous. It can mean different things to different people. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to find a title that has a meaning but doesn't have to have a meaning, if you know what I mean. So,
could you tell in short how did you start with making these new songs?
When I first started, I just knew that I wanted to do things differently as far as my process. So what I did is I wrote down on a sheet of paper, or on a little note, actually, a little Post-it note, I wrote non-linear. It basically means like, just not straight ahead, like multi-layered.
Okay, yeah.
And because that's the approach I wanted to take technically and emotionally and musically and as far as arrangement. I wanted everything to be non-linear. In fact, that was the album title for a while.
Isn't variety also a term for that?
It's a little bit different because non-linear describes an approach, and you can try and have a lot of sonic variety on your record, but to me the term just stuck with me as being my sort of mantra that I kept repeating by looking at it every day. I put it right in front of me. And it just worked for me. And so in the process of finding samples and working on the songs, I was just basically trying not to resort to my old tricks. I wanted to force myself to come and challenge myself to come up with new ways to do what I do. And I was pretty confident that if I did that, the music would sound different than last time.
It is different than the Introducing. Could you tell in what way it is different?
I think primarily it has to do with my inspiration that I took in while I was making, in between Introducing and this record. There's new genres that exist now that didn't exist when I was working on the first record, and but I also listened to different types of older music that I wasn't that interested in back then. So all these new influences I knew were going to mean that, I mean, I'm basically a receptacle, so if you input different things into me, the output's going to be different.
Yeah.
And so I knew I wasn't that worried about that, but also, that phrase nonlinear just really helped me to force myself to to focus and concentrate, and I just wanted to be at the top of my game, and concentration was a big part of that.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of styles on the record, a lot of like hip hop and rock, and also a lot of 80s. I heard some Paul Young stuff. Are you
Paul Young?
Paul Young, isn't it?
No.
I heard just there's a drum break from Paul Young.
No, Paul Young.
Oh.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Maybe you like the 80s music then?
Well, I mean, I don't like it any more or less than I did in the 80s, you know what I mean? To me, it's just another era of music. I mean, I definitely never want to do anything that sounds retro, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to make an 80s record, or I'm trying to make a psychedelic record, or I'm trying to make a 1988 hip-hop record. It's just about utilizing different sources. I mean, I always try and utilize different music than my peers. So if everybody's, stuck on funk 45s, by the time everybody else is, I'm trying to be moving on to something else like garage rock or something, something totally different. So, because I know that's going to keep my music sounding different than the music everybody else is doing. So, better or for worse. I'm not saying other people don't make good music. Obviously they do. But I'm just trying to be different, that's all.
How do you find your samples? You just go in a record shop or just your own collection, and then you pull out some stuff and you put it on the table and just have to see what comes out or something?
Well, the way when I go out and obtain, like people give me things on this road trip, and I go out and buy things on this road trip, new and old, and then when I get home, it all goes in one pile in no order. So then when I have time, I'll go through and listen to things and make notes on things of possible samples or things I want to put on a tape. And then I put the things that I want to put on a tape on a shelf. And when I have time, I make like a compilation CD or a tape. And so that's how my musical diet is. And that's why I think the album hopefully sounds very varied, very, non-linear, because my musical diet is very non-linear.
The album is very variety of styles, I just said, and also the drums. I hear a lot of drums, and I'm a drummer myself, so I can really hear some cool, real sampled drums. But it sounds pretty real. Did you record it real?
No, I don't. I'm not that fascinated by, hiring someone to come in. I feel like if I was going to bring someone to play drums or guitar, I just have them put it right on the track. They don't need me to sample them to make it sound good. So I feel like that's kind of cheating in my way of working. So everything's from a record, and I just like to program in a way that someone could actually play. And it's just a personal preference, I guess. Yeah,
pretty cool. Could you tell the sample of the first song? It's the song Letter from My Home, Part 1?
Oh, yeah. It's actually, no, I mean, it's supposed to just be Letter from Home and Letter from Home.
Oh, okay.
The one in the 4 is only on there because when we were mastering, I mastered a bunch of different ones. So somehow it ended up on there. But on the actual album, it won't say 1 and 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What sample is the first one?
Okay, what they come from is something called a Recordio disc. And what these are is basically the ultimate private press, because there's only ever one made. Mm-hmm. And in the 50s, 40s, and 60s, I guess, you could go to anywhere like a train station or an arcade or an amusement park or a hotel, anywhere where they would have a photo booth, and there'd be one of these Recordio booths. And you go in and you pay your money and you talk onto, and you get a record out. Okay. And so they're just little tiny 78 RPM records that people used to send as letters in the mail or give to people, so sometimes...
Is it typical American?
I think they existed in Europe as well, it's totally forgotten in time, 50s, you know what I mean? 60s, yeah, well, and even the 40s. I have ones from World War II even, like...
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, where that's saying things like, well, John, you're off to boot camp and stay warm. And, they'll say, like, written in pencil on it, it'll say, like, April 14th, 1941 or 1942
Really?
or something. Yeah.
Well, where did you get these things?
Usually you just find them in, like, thrift stores. You never find them in record stores because people don't know what they are. And people don't know, I don't think any record store would buy them because they wouldn't think anybody would want them,
More on old markets, old
Yeah.
stuff. Old
Yeah. Just
shops.
and you only ever find like one or two at a time
Yeah.
because usually someone dies and they're just in with all their other stuff.
The sixth song on the record, I really liked that song. We're talking about war anyway, so the 6 Day War. Could you tell something about that? Because I really like that song.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's my favorite song
Yeah.
on the album as well.
Cool.
Um,
The title is a bit strange, but it's later.
yeah, that song is the song with the psychedelic vocals, or I shouldn't say they're psychedelic vocals. They come from a psychedelic record.
Who is that? Who's singing?
I can't tell you because we're still clearing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's cleared, but until it's like set in stone, I don't want to.
Is it a well-known singer?
No, not at all. No, I mean none of the vocals that I sampled are by any stretch well known. But yeah, it was kind of interesting because that song existed as an instrumental for me, and I was working on it and getting ready to mix it, and looking through my records for other things to use, and then I found the vocals, and it just works so well. I was really excited when I found it because I always wanted vocals on the record, but I didn't want to have to go find some star or find some no-name talent,
Okay, yeah.
because I'm much more interested in. So I don't think there's ever really been a song where you take a vocal from an existing song and make something totally different out of it with the same lyrics and everything.
That's more like remixing.
Yeah, it's almost like a remix or something, yeah. So it was really fun for me to make that.
I really like that song, but the 6 Day War, why did you name that?
Well, that's actually the name of the original song as well, because they talk about, on Monday, Tuesday, it's not about the war in, there was like, I guess,
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they weren't really even singing about that, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's just about, they say at the starting of the week
Yeah.
on Summit Talk, it's, so I didn't even know what the 6 Day War was until like 3 months ago, to be totally honest. I'm not very political.
We all have to congratulate you with your the old album. Introducing was the best dance album ever, titled by
Yeah, of course.
that must be great.
Well, I mean, it's nice. It's flattering, obviously. I don't want to say I'm not going to pretend like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but I mean, I know just as well they could have an issue out next year. This is the top 50 worst albums of all time, and I could be at the top of that list. So I try not to take it too seriously. I mean, it's flattering, but things change.
Could you tell in short what the next plans are going to be for you?
Yeah, in the future, in the immediate future is touring. I'll be I pretty much blocked out most of the year for touring. And then after that, I don't know, maybe I'll record with the guys from Quantum again or something like that. Yeah. I don't want to rush. I'm like, enjoying things right now.
Any idea when you come to Holland?
Possibly May at the earliest, but if not May, then definitely sometime in the summertime.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.